Supreme Court cases like Citizens United kind of really opened up the floodgates of outside money in politics, and it has really changed the landscape, how much money is available to candidates at all levels of government, whether that be state, whether that be federal. And, you know, there's always questions about when there's a lot of money, is there influence that is behind that? It's really hard to show a one-to-one correlation that because somebody got money from a particular organization, a particular business, a particular labor union, that they're actively working to pursue, you know, the interests of that organization, but it at least raises the kind of specter that that's there. I think it affects it a lot because, I mean, you're really talking about a lot of money, and they now have the ability to advertise on behalf, well, they're not supposed to be connected to the candidate's campaign, right? But they have the opportunity to advertise and really try to sway public opinion too. That really matters in something like a state election race when candidates are, you know, somewhat limited by the state in how much money they can raise. If suddenly there's this outside money that comes into the campaign, that's really important to them. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the trend now, that you just see more outside money. You know, you saw it in the Evan Jenkins campaign. You know, he got a lot of outside money, as did Nick Rahal as well, because suddenly that money can come into a state like West Virginia in a way it couldn't before. Most presidents do something like that. You know, they kind of come in saying it's going to be different under my regime. And there have been, under recent presidents anyway, limitations on how soon you could come back and work for government, how soon you could lobby. We'll see, you know, how effective that is at the end of the day. Because it's not just people who work for the administration, it's Congress people, it's staffers, it's all sorts of other, you know, people connected to the political process as well. Usually if you win the presidential election, usually it's kind of the spoils of winning are you get to appoint your people, and you know, there might be fights here and there about one particular appointment or another, and maybe somebody doesn't get confirmed by the Senate, you know, here or there, or ends up pulling himself, herself out of the running because of some controversy. But I think overall, presidents are going to get the people they want in office.
Generally, when we suspect that there is a conflict of interest in an elected office, such as the auditor, right, or the treasurer, secretary of state, when that's an independent office, it would be then left up to the legislature to investigate, or perhaps to the Supreme Court, but it has to be a different entity in government. I can't answer your question as to why the Attorney General would be allowed to select the counsel to investigate this. I don't have that answer.
And I mean, is that like, do you know if that's like normal policy? Or?
It doesn't strike me as being a normal policy. I can't say definitively that it's never happened before, but the nature of an independent investigation is that it needs to be independent. We know on a national level very often. For example, the National Attorney General Jeff Sessions, right, just recused himself from an investigation because he was so close to the president's administration and part of the president's campaign. So we have precedent on a national level for independent investigations. I'm just not an expert in this area, but it appears to me that if it were to be a truly independent investigation, that it would have to be completely independent, meaning the Attorney General would probably allow the court to establish who would lead that investigation. Well, I would say we have absolutely zero states where money does not influence politics. It's kind of the
Yeah.
nature of our political system, and the Supreme Court has ruled that money now has very, very little regulation because money really it flows across all lines. The literature suggests that it's very, very difficult to directly connect the influence of money to political action. And yet at the same time it suggests that obviously money plays a hand strongly in getting someone elected. If you're able to elect someone who shares your ideological preferences on policy, then those dots may not directly be connected, but indirectly, clearly, the person once in power will, use his or her influence in that ideological direction. So that's the real direct influence of money in politics. Yes, Attorney General Morrissey did get a lot of out-of-state financing to help him win election.